Are you getting close to retirement, but you think your savings still need a boost to kind of get you over the line? Stay tuned to today's video as I'll be covering 5 wealth hacks I've discovered that I think will put a rocket pack on my saving efforts and yours too. Hey, Frank Thomas here, Wealth Generation Strategies, and today this video is really for somebody looking to escape the 9 to 5 sooner than later. It is really focused on people who are retiring, but again, if you're a 20-something and you want to retire at 45 or 40 or even 30, you need to watch this video. The wealth hacks I'm going to be sharing with you today could make you very, very rich in a very rapid time. So let's get started right away. My first strategy and hack is to be very strategical. Now you might say, well, that kind of makes sense. Let me give you an idea of my life and where I've been to explain my point here. I had a bit of a vague idea that there was stuff I needed to do to become wealthy, but in my mid-50s, I'd only really put about 20 grand away, so I saved very little and had a mountain of debt all over the place. So I was a bit of a hot mess. And I knew if I didn't start making some changes, I'd be in big trouble, and I might still be in big trouble if I wanted to retire at 65. I had literally a 10-year window. Ideally, I knew I had to reduce my expenses, increase my wages, and start saving, because that was the number one thing. I really hadn't started to save properly yet. My first plans revolved around my next hack. So start to build right off from hack number 1, a strategic plan to do those 3 things. Reduce your expenses, increase your wages, and start saving. I got a ton of other videos that cover each one of these points individually and give it a really good basis for you to start with. So do check out my channel. But let's get out to the second wealth hack, and that is to downsize to supersize your wealth. Yep, you heard me right. My first plan was to downsize my house. We were still living in a house we'd raised our kids in, and it was a big and expensive house to maintain. This permitted me to take any residual equity in our house as well to work harder for us too. I hate transferring debt, but it worked really well in this particular situation. I had a HELOC, and I had personal loans, I had credit cards, I had car debt, I had this, I had that. This permitted me to kind of funnel any residual wealth we had in our house and put it towards all that stuff to free up a lot of payments I had to make every month. And this is the whole thing here. I was able to pay off a lot of little debt that was in mid to high interest range, as well as reduce my monthly living costs dramatically. And how did I do the reduction in living costs? We bought a smaller house, which was more efficient. Reduced taxes, reduced water bills, reduced electricity, reduced natural gas bills, reduce everything. It was actually quite incredible. I think one of the biggest places that I saw a big reduction was on our home insurance, and that was actually quite surprising. Now, you might think that these little reductions here and there are not really going to amount to very much, but let me tell you something. $50 here, $20 there, $100 there. We were able at the end of the day to reduce our living expenses by almost $1,000 per month. I went from maybe being able to save $100 every month or nothing to saving at least $1,000 per month. And that was just on the reduction of expenses. Now, before jumping into the wealth hack number 3, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to give it a like. And also, if you want to see more from this guy right here, I intend to share some pretty interesting financial strategies going forward. You hear thinking black and white? I'm going to be showing you Technicolor. So be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. Let's get to hack number 3. And that is get rid of it. Now is a good time to start to go through all that stuff you've collected and I've collected in life and get rid of it if we haven't touched it in 6 months. You might think, oh, wait a second, I might need that. I might have a use for that. I only use it once a year or whatever. If it's something you generally use on a continuous basis, hold on to it. But if you don't, it's time to let it go. And you got to learn to be brutal. I've seen so many horror stories of people who have secondary storage just packed to the brim. They die, and their kids got to deal with it. And you know what they do? Right to the dump. Do your kids a favor. and deal with that stuff you've been holding on that you'll never use or need or whatever. You might think you do, but you probably don't. And I'll tell you a little secret, it actually gets easier the more you do it. It is brutal in the beginning, but there's a ton of upside to doing this. First of all, you'll get used to getting rid of stuff and it clears up your mind. For some reason, as you declutter your life, you also declutter your mind. It's like every little piece that you own, it occupies a few brain cells, and I can't explain the phenomena. I really can't. But I have found that as I've gotten rid of stuff, I don't think about it anymore. Hey, it doesn't mean that I miss it and I really would prefer to fix it or keep it or whatever. Yeah, but I haven't used it. Time to get it gone. Now, you don't necessarily need to just take everything to the dump. If it's sellable, sell it. I was able to raise a few $1,000s initially as I've been getting rid of stuff. And it's kind of nice. I just sold something recently, and nice little brown $100 bill. And it's not really paying me that to sit where it was. So that's really good. As we do this exercise, honestly and truthfully, you'll find that you're going to get used to it. And the feel of releasing stuff is probably the biggest benefit, as I mentioned earlier. There's also a secondary effect that occurs as well. You'll begin to think a little more critically over every purchase going forward. You're apt not to purchase stuff because now you got to think, I got to get rid of this one day. You'll only purchase what is of use, and you'll get the value from it that it will cost you. There's so many things you buy in life that you think, oh, it's cheap, or it's this, or it's that. You never get the value. And you've spent the money, it's gone. You can't get it back. Again, this will boost your saving efforts. And it's really incredible. I have found that since I've started tossing stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, look at this. This is really neat. I don't know if I want it so much, I don't have that much of a use for it. Whereas even if it was like $5, oh yeah, $5. $5 makes a difference at the end of the day. Just remember that. So hack number 4. Purchase with the end in mind. This might sound like a weird hack, but always purchase larger cost items with an end goal in mind for that item. A good example is the house I bought 5 years ago that we're actually selling right now. When we downsized, I bought this house with the intent of hopefully seeing a very high return on the investment. There's a bunch of reasons for it. Again, I have a lot of great videos. Take a look at my channel. I talked about it recently. I bought this house in this particular area because I could see a really strong potential for a rise in its value. Well, the deal isn't done yet, and it's beginning to look like the about $110,000 we put into the house over the last 5 years from initial payment to monthly mortgage payments will pay us back approximately $300,000 to $350,000 in that 5-year period. It's like if I had that $110,000 right off the kick, it's like getting a 25% return on the money if I'd put all that money right up front and invested it for 5 years. So it doesn't get much better than this, was what I'm saying. Now, what does it mean at the end of the day if we're able to get that money out? It'll help us become half a millionaires or 500,000aires if you want to. Not a millionaire, but 500,000aire. Now, you think to yourself, it's only $500,000. Like it might still not be enough. You're absolutely correct. But here's the big but. When I started this journey 5 years ago, I had maybe $20,000 saved, maybe. And I had lots of debt and everything else. Now we'll have $500,000. And you could say, yeah, if you buy another house or you rent, you've taken the equity out of your house. You're absolutely correct. But I can see being able to now take this money and financially invest it and do very well with it. And that brings me to my next hack. And you need to learn how your money works. We need to learn how to invest and increase your returns on your wealth. Now, when people tell you 5 or 6% is a healthy return and that's the best you can do, it's hogwash. You can do better. Yes, if you're not savvy, and yes, if you just go to a financial advisor, that might be the truth. Now, it's kind of funny. I've been talking to a financial advisor, And after talking to them, and they realized that I had a pretty good idea what I was talking about. Now, I don't know everything, but I know enough. They came to me and said, Frank, we can see that you're a bit of a savvy investor. And they showed me some ideas and some plans, and it could really boost me closer to the 10 or more percent return on my money. Now, you don't need to become a financial master, but get a basic idea of what you need to do to increase your results. Just investing into good dividend products on the stock market, I'm able to get a 10 to 15, 16, 17% return on average. Now you can do better, but I feel that the risk could be a little more than I'm willing to tolerate. I've done big interest investments in the past, and high interest usually means high risk. So at this stage of the game, I don't want to put $500,000 on a pony and lose it all at the races. And I'll just leave it at that. I'm not trying to gamble is what I'm saying. But I've been studying the housing market and financial markets to get a better understanding over the years, and it has made a marked difference in these last stages of the game. Now, if you're 20 years old, this is really important. You learn this stuff at 20? Wow, you are going to be a millionaire well before you're 40. As I mentioned, we could see a sizable return on our house, but not only that, as I mentioned in a few moments ago, my financial account is making a collective return of between 16 and 17% per year at this moment in time. Why does it matter so much? Like, what does a few percentage points make? Simple. The higher the rate of return, the faster you can increase your wealth. At 16%, it takes about 4.5 years to double any investment. Did you get that? Let's say I tack another 5 years on, my $500,000 should become $1 million. And that's not adding any more to it. That's just letting it grow. If I started tacking $1,000 a month into it and just adding to it over those 5 years, it'll be worth closer to $1.1, $1.2 million after 10 years. So I went from being a 20,000 heir to being a millionaire in 10 years. So all in all, what does it mean? I'm not sure how things are going to pan out in the long run in this particular situation, but I'm continuing to plan. I'm continuing to alter my strategies. Now, this is probably a bonus hack, and that is your strategy will change as time goes on. One of my plans is what I like to call the partial retirement plan. And this might start sooner than later. So what does it mean? This all mean in one sentence? Done right, you can go from zero to millionaire in as little as 10 years. Yep, you heard it right, 10 years. And this is not a typo. Even if it took you 20 years and you started out at 20, you could be financially free, done, finished at 40. What would life look for you then? Let me ask you that. What would it look like at 40? But if you're asking the question, how do I start to save money to make all this happen in the first place? And that's a great question. The video you see coming up right now helps to answer that very question. Check it out. Otherwise, I hope you're able to start to take these wealth hacks, especially if you're late in retirement. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's never too late. Unless you're one foot hovering over the grave and the other foot on a banana peel, yeah, you're too late. But the truth of the matter is, I started doing all this at 56, 57. Something to think about. Colonel Sanders didn't make his wealth until he was close to his 80s, if not in his 80s. So it's never too late for you. Don't let age be an excuse. Frank Thomas, thank you very much. Be sure to check out the video you see on the screen right now. And let's get wealthy together, man.